Hey, it's Justin with the Real Keeper Home Team. Hey, I just wanted to give everyone a quick market update for October. We're in the final quarter of 2020. A lot of stuff's happened this year, a lot of stuff that no one would have expected. But ultimately, real estate market is as hot as it's ever been. Plenty of buyers, not so much sellers as you guys will see here in this short video. But overall, very healthy market with a lot of traction. So, looking at year over year, because again, sometimes it's important to see where we're at versus where we've been. Whether if it's just showings, whether if it's purchase apps, pendings, existing homes, or new home sales. As you can see, we are in a huge increase. Anywhere from 10% increase on existing home sales to 43% increase on new home sales. And at the same time, as you can see, if you're a seller, there's not a lot of inventory right now. So you really have a very strong ability to get the buyer you want for your house. If you're a buyer, it just means you have to be ready to go once that house hits. I wanted to also kind of go into when it comes to months of inventory, it's a huge indicator for real estate and for any market. And what I wanted people to be able to see is our months of inventory right now are at a historic low. Again, we've had, back during the recession, we were up to almost a year of inventory. That's huge. That means that if no new houses hit the market, it would take a year for every house in the market to sell. Typically, it just means there's a lot of sellers, not a lot of buyers, and that's why you see it would be a buyer's market. Right now, it's the opposite. We're actually experiencing record lows for months of inventory on that existing home housing market, which again, as you can see in the diagram, just shows it's a seller's market by far. At the same time, part of why it's a seller's market and part of why there's not a lot of homes on the market is because you do have a lot of sellers who have a lot of equity in their home. 42% of homeowners right now actually have almost all of what their home is worth, they have in equity. That's huge. You haven't seen that in a long time. And realistically, only a small portion of homeowners have less than 10% equity in their home. A little bit of a stat here from Real.com. Since the beginning of the COVID pandemic in March, nearly 400,000 fewer homes have been listed compared to last year, leaving a gaping hole in the U.S. housing inventory. As a result, home prices have accelerated at double last year's pace. At least here in Jacksonville, we definitely have seen that. Again, it speaks to the fact that there's just not a lot of inventory. A lot of the reason people are saying is potentially because of COVID, but with the fact that rates are so low right now and people have been doing refis quite frequently, that's kind of also played a part in the fact that there just hasn't been a lot of homes hitting the market. But also because of low rates, that's why there's been a lot of buyers on the market. So going over just a quick little year-over-year change in listings, as the graph shows, we are seeing exponentially decrease in new listings and in total listings compared to last year. Here's a cool one. So if you're a seller and you're wondering where your house sits as far as days on market, or if you're a buyer wondering how quickly do you need to make a move if you find the right house, this is a great document. This is a great slide to look at. Throughout the whole U.S., other than a couple of states like South Dakota and Louisiana currently could be because of a lot of the hurricanes and this very busy hurricane season we've had. Other than those two states, every other state is experiencing a 30 days or less home on the market, with the average being 22. Speaking for Jacksonville, you're really looking at that 22 being probably on the higher side, for being honest. And that's for most listings across the board. There's always going to be anomalies. This slide I wanted to bring in existing home sales. I wanted to be able to show year over year, every single area of the U.S. is experiencing a rise in home sales. The South, specifically, which that's where we're at here in Jacksonville, Florida, is experiencing a 13.4% rise in home sales compared to last year. At the same time, and this is something I really wanted to bring up today, because not a lot of people that we talk to really understand at first, But right now, the percentage of distressed home sales is at a record low. Again, back in 2008, 2009, 2010, you saw a lot of short sales and foreclosure in the market. And right now, there's just not a lot of them because, as one of my previous slides showed, there's a lot of equity in these homes that people own. Therefore, if they had to sell, they're able to without having to go into a short sale or potentially lose it to foreclosure. So a lot of people who think that foreclosure short sales are a deal nowadays, they're not necessarily a deal. And if they are, you're gonna have to be very patient for them. Now here's a year-over-year percentage change in price. We were actually forecasted to only see about a 0.2% increase of price this year versus last year for homes throughout the US. What we've actually seen, and again, this has a lot to play into the amount of inventory we have in the market, what we've actually seen is almost a 6% increase in prices across the board for homes. And that's pretty substantial. And obviously, the biggest indicator that we can see for that is because it's just, again, a high percentage of buyers and a low percentage of sellers. Again, just getting into that, months of inventory for sale in the last 2 years. As you can see, we've steadily, and you're going to have months that are going to be higher, typically the summer months, because there's more people looking to make the move. It's in the middle of school years, but typically the summers you tend to go up a little bit. But collectively, as you can see in this graph, there hasn't really been many months that have been under 3.5, really none. But starting December of last year and throughout this year, we have had collectively a very low months of inventory, other than May and April, which were very much contributed to the initial run-in with COVID and a lot of people's unsure expectations of what it would have on the market. So this next slide is months of inventory of homes for sale in the last 12 months. More of a deeper dive rather than the 2-year view. I wanted to get it down to a 1-year view for people to kind of see. And again, it's just kind of rehashing what we went over with the last slide. Collectively, we are seeing record lows for inventory. 4.8 in May was actually kind of high. That was probably the highest we've had in the last couple of years, being honest, for a month. But since then, once people have kind of started to go about things in slightly more normalcy with COVID, you have seen that the inventory levels have started to drop off. Again, between inventory being low and interest rates being low, that's why you're seeing drop-offs here. And actually for Jacksonville, which I'll go into further on, for Jacksonville, we're actually at 2.35. So we're actually below what the average is for the US. Again, great to be a seller. Still good to be a buyer. You just may not get the same kind of deal as you did a couple of years ago. Foot traffic. Again, this is an indicator of future sales, and all that this is to show is even with COVID and what has happened over the course of the last 8 months, collectively, other than the COVID months where we did have a slowdown April, May, collectively 2020 is still outpacing 2019 when it comes to the amount of people actually looking at homes. And to key on that too, buyer traffic index, just wanted to show this because I wanted people to understand that yes, the world is going through a lot of changes this year, changes that most people would never have forecasted before this year. But even with that, most states are either very strong or strong when it comes to the buyer traffic and people actively going out on the market to look for homes. And I've mentioned multiple times with interest rates being low, this was just to kind of go back into more detail to show you guys, again, where we've been and where we're going. And realistically speaking, we have fluctuated anywhere from 3.97 up to probably closer to that 5% towards the beginning of 2019. But since then, in the past, let's call a little over a year and a half, rates have been steadily coming down. And currently they're at, I believe it's an all-time low of 2.7%. If it's not an all-time low, it's getting close. And again, just wanted to kind of show projections for the future. You know, currently, again, we're at 2.87, but they do project rates to go further below that going to 2021. Again, at some point, we're going to see an increase in rates. The question's when, but right now, you know, if you're a prospective buyer, or if you're a seller looking to refinance, it's still a great time because, you know, these rates, they won't be there forever. And this is a big one, especially because people sometimes wonder, well, once I find a house, how long does it take for me to be able to move in? And typically move in is associated with, you know, closing the loan. And what we've actually seen, and part of this is actually from the refinances going on right now, but and COVID, but what we've actually seen is homes are taking a little bit longer to close and for the loan to close. A lot of to do with appraisers being very heavily backed up with appraisal orders, underwriters being backed up with the amount of files they're getting because now there's a lot more refinances going on. And so we're actually seeing an increase in days for the loan to close. It's just kind of one of those helpful things to where you know buyers understand it's going to take a little bit longer. Sellers also understand, you know, have to be patient. You know, there will be some anomalies that occur that may go past the 49, but realistically, the loan for the most part should close most of the time. And so that is it. That is all I wanted to kind of show today. That's the October update. Kind of brought to you by, you know, Keeping Current Matters, which is a great site that we use. But also, you know, I want to kind of go into it, give you my you know tidbits from it. And realistically, there's a lot that's changing right now, especially because we're now going to the final quarter. And November, December, end of the year tends to be very strong, especially if you're looking to get into a home and get your homestead for 2020. And so please feel free to reach out to us. You know, our phone number is 904-414-4000, 904-414-4000. And, you know, you can also go to our site at search.fujaxhomes.com. If you're looking to look for a home, we're always here to help. And if you're looking to sell a home, you know, we pride ourselves on having a proven, repeatable system backed by market research to save you up to 18%, not 15, 18% more on your home. And realistically, we've done pretty well in getting that done. Part of it's, you know, the market's been very strong, but part of it's also our marketing plan to ensure that you get through as little hassle as possible when you are selling. Again, stressful enough as it is. Why try to make it more stressful? And we try to take as much stress off your plate as possible. So if you like this video, please feel free to you know, give us a like. Otherwise, you know, always here to help. Have a great day, you guys, and talk to you more soon, or until next time.